Hi everybody, I'm High Priestess Autumn Phoenix. Let me very quickly tell you where you can follow me on social media. Follow me on my Facebook page at Magically Blessed. Follow me on Instagram at Autumn_Phoenix1. Follow me on Twitter at Priestess Autumn. Follow me on YouTube at Autumn Phoenix, and follow me here on Periscope at Autumn Phoenix. Tonight's broadcast is the big question. Can men be witches too? When a man comes out as a witch, people probably think right away that he's gay, or that he's really into Dungeons and Dragons, or he's a nerd, he's a geek, he still lives with his parents, he's a nerd, all types of stereotypes. When you think of a witch, you automatically think of a woman. That's not true. That's not true. Men can be witches. The god and the goddess have no interest in what is between your legs. No interest whatsoever. It does not matter if you are a male or a female. Anybody can become a witch. Anybody. Can men be witches? In recent years, there has been a push to reclaim witchcraft as only for women. Just women only space. Only witches can be a woman. That's not true. And this push or this force has led to many male witches feeling conflicted internally and out of place on this spiritual path. Let me tell you something. Witchcraft is not a religion. It's a craft. Witchcraft is working with the energy found in nature to bring about change in one's life. For some people, witchcraft really is a last resort. If things are really going to shit in your life, people do resort to witchcraft to put the wrong things right. The idea of witchcraft being only for women is actually new. It's not old. It's not that for all time up to this point, only women have been witches. No. The idea that only witches are female, that's actually a new thought process. False, but it's still a new thought process. Now listen, there are traditions that are women only, such as Dianic Wicca, that's women only. These traditions came up in the 70s when feminism was at its height. Now, I'm not bashing feminists, but it happened through in the 1970s when feminism was pretty damn high. The struggle for gender equality made women feel the need for spiritual safe spaces. Places where men and the patriarch could not interfere, and out of this desire, these women only legions was born. This policy, this unfair policy of excluding men is not a universal part of the craft. It does not happen all over the world. It does not. It's very important to note that the desire that many women have for a spiritual, safe space separate from men is entirely valid. It is valid and should not be discouraged. The current political climate and the experiences that many women have had in their lives that may not be the best leads some women to feel stifled, to feel unsafe, and to feel like their voice is not being heard, as though they have been silenced. Silence in their spiritual lives and seeking to find a spiritual connection without the, looming over them can be a very important part of their journey. A very important part of their spiritual journey. With this being said, ejecting men from a shared space is not the solution. Utilizing and creating new women-only spaces within the craft is the solution. It is not necessary to remove men from the craft in order to have a women-only spiritual safe space. Witchcraft for people comes as a breath of fresh air. It represents an opportunity to claim one's spirituality and connection to the divine without having a go-between. It is control. It is freedom. There really is no wonder why that women who come into the craft feel the need to shield this newfound freedom and personal power from those who might try to take it from them. Of course, you should always be protective of your own spiritual power. Of course, because it belongs to you. It does not belong to anybody else. It belongs to you. But that does not mean that you can say to another person, oh, you can't do this because you're not a female. You don't have the right to say it to nobody. You do not have the right to say that to anybody, ever. That's completely and totally inappropriate. Historically, men have always had a place in the craft, and they will continue to, because magic is innate to the human energy system. Men can also work with the energy found in nature to bring about change in their life. Women do not own it, because men are human too. It's not something that can be taken away from anyone. You can't take away anybody else's spiritual experiences because it doesn't belong to you. If you want spiritual experiences, get under the covering of a coven, get under the covering of a priest or priestess of Wicca, and discover it within yourself, for yourself, so you can use it to change your own life instead of having to worry about what somebody else is doing. In other words, worry about your own ass. Men have had a hand in the creation and the continuation of magical education and traditions too, all over the globe. modern witchcraft in 2019 was championed by male witches just as much as female witches. Men like Gerald Gardner, Victor Anderson, and of course Scott Cunningham. These men helped to shape and bring new life, breathe new life to the craft in the early 1900s, bringing the practice of witchcraft into the public eye. Their works, along with other men and women, is what paved the way for what we practice today as witches. To deny men space in Wicca and the practice of witchcraft is to erase our history and to shackle the evolution of a practice that has always been open to both genders. Instead of trying to remove men from Wicca and witchcraft from a space that has always been open to both genders, we need to see open communication about the needs of everybody in our communities that want to use witchcraft to bring about change in their life, real change in their life, to bring what they desire into their reality. Witchcraft, Wicca is open to everyone to incorporate it into their lives to make their lives better, to give them more abundance, to give them prosperity, to give them manifestation. This means both respecting the closed spaces, and that's okay to have a closed space. If you come across a coven that says we don't want men, fine. You'll find another coven that will accept you for being a man. Don't get offended. So, like I was saying, it means both respecting the closed spaces where men may be excluded or women might be excluded that some groups might make for themselves. And that they are absolutely at liberty to do that. And also understanding that there is a space for you to be comfortable in being a witch, calling yourself a witch. Men have just as much right to the craft as women do. They have just as much right to bring about change by working with the energy found in nature. So thank you everybody for joining me on this broadcast, and I will be speaking to you all shortly. Bye everybody.